Hello, guys, and welcome to another podcast about Sparta. Uh, it's more of my monologue, my take uh, on the Sparta history, and I want to talk about certain aspect of Sparta history that gets repeated by the historians all the time. They always emphasize how Spartans had to do this, pay for their Syssition, the communal dinners that all the Spartans, even the Spartan kings, had to attend. So every evening, Spartan, the Spartia, the full Spartan citizen, would eat with his fellow warriors, other Spartans, and the Syssition was about 15 men. 15 full citizens would have dinner every night, after which they had to go home without a torch. So in the complete darkness, there were no street lights. To get accustomed to the night, that was part of training as well. But only the very old Spartans who would retired at age 60 for military duty would be allowed to walk home with a torch. Another excuse not to attend Syssition would be if the Spartan was hunting and didn't came in time to attend the Syssition because he was somewhere in the mountains and to spend the night or whatever. So the historians, they always are implying how if a Spartan wouldn't pay for this, give his contribution to this Syssition, the communal dinner, they would lose the citizenship, so the status of the Spartan warrior, his cleros be taken away from him, and all the rights of a full citizen, and who become this inferior, this class of Spartans who lost their citizenship. But they make it sound like those were very significant, expensive contribution which was made in these agricultural products monthly. It was like a fixed rate, like they had to bring monthly. Each member would have to bring 70 to 80 kilos of raw barley, which was then made for bread, and these porridges what they ate. Most of their diet was barley. About 40 liters of wine, which was then drank watered down. A few kilos of dry cheese, 2 kilos of dry figs, and some small amount of money to buy some meats. It's mentioned that the black broth, the famous black soup of Spartans, of pork blood, and that most of the money went to buy the ingredients, pork meat and blood, vinegar and salt. That were the ingredients for the famous soup. So it's monthly contribution is 2 bags of barley, a small barrel of about 40 liters of red wine, a few kilos of dry cheese, 2 kilos of dry figs. I think I've counted everything, and a small amount of money to pay for some meats and stuff. And the Spartans also, when they're coming from some successful hunting, would send part of the meat as well to the Syssition for the dinner. to be prepared next day. And of course, some festivals they had some more fancier food, but this basically ate 15 men. They contributed this fixed amount, and they individually ate a little bit more, a little bit less. But you know, what you brought monthly to the Syssitian was what you ate, because you went there 30 times every day for a month, and every other day another member will bring these foods. Probably the helot would. He would bring a helot to bring that food there, and they will eat that food. Maybe some by these 15 members. So you basically ate the food that you brought there. Maybe some leftovers were given to the helots who were preparing and serving food, but that's about it. So it's like, and they had to, you know, like kind of having a Spartan dinner, eating very basic food. This, you know, barley breads, barley porridge, you know, some cheese, a bit of meat, this black broth, dry figs and watered down wine, which would come then like a little bit more than a liter of wine, then mixed with water, was drank by each Syssitian member. Supposedly, all these professors and experts, or these smart people who are studying that stuff, are always repeating, like parrots, like, you know, if they couldn't pay for this Syssitian, then they would be taken of their citizen rights and stuff. Yeah, right. Yeah, right. Like that's why, you know, they are saying like, because this the Spartan will get poorer, like that would imply like they couldn't pay for this Syssitian, and then therefore like the number of warriors, the power of Sparta, who was military force number one in ancient Greece and one of the strongest in this Mediterranean civilization. You know, they lost all these warriors. They lost the power because they couldn't bring the bag of barley a month. But on the other hand, they were supposed to be these leisurely, wealthy landowners that lived on the hard work of the helots. But which one is it, one or the other? But let me ask you something. If there was no Syssitian, if there was no Syssitian in Sparta, would average Spartan ate about that same amount of food at home? He would stay at home, he would eat this barley bread, he would eat some meat, some cheese, you know, drink some wine. He would eat and drank that himself. So if he couldn't bring that to the Syssitian, it's like you are a player in the rugby club and you pay a monthly fee. And if you cannot pay a monthly fee, tough luck, you know, like you cannot stay in the club, you know, like that's how it goes. But it's like, it's ridiculous that, like, listen, they ate these simple meals, these agriculture products that came from their kleros. So, you know, like, if the Spartan couldn't brought his own dinner to that's mismanagement of his, because he was paid in agricultural products. Each Spartan was given a kleros, a piece of land with the helots, and these helots would give a part of these agricultural products, a fixed amount, to the Spartan master. It would be sent to the Spartan master in Sparta. So he would get after harvest and so on, like yearly or whatever. So he was paid in agriculture products, and then he would bring it to this city and the place where they would dine. Helots would prepare the food and serve the food, and they would eat that. And like if he couldn't give this they wouldn't overfed themselves and get into the gluttony and get fat and stuff. Those were Spartans. This was like they would eat this modest meals, simple meals, and they would train hard and move whatever and stay lean was like a requisite in Sparta. You could be expelled from Sparta for being fat. So it's like, there's nothing to get fat from. Like barley bread, some meat, some cheese, watered down wine, and you burn that down during the day, during training. But if you couldn't brought that to a Syssitian, then you are basically starving. If it would be such a challenge, would the institution of Syssitian exist? This monthly dues is like, you are part of Syssitian, you bring that food that we eat, you basically bring what you're going to eat in the next month. That's your monthly contribution. It's like some fixed amount that's like done, like calculated into 50 parts. Not everybody is going to eat the same. Some, individually, but like average Syssitian member is going to eat that amount of food during the month that he brought to the Syssitia. And he would stay lean, So if he couldn't bring that amount of food to that dinner, then he's basically starving. And that would be like, then what's the point of having like a kleros? So you get provided with agricultural products for the work of helots, so you can keep training and be strong and tough and to fight for Sparta. So you will be given sufficient amount of that. And then when you go to the dinner, you bring that food with you on the dinner. That's contribution to Syssitia. It's nothing more. It's with some enormous amounts. And that's what I thought years before I have looked into it. I don't understand. Like, yeah, it's pretty huge amount of food. A lot of this, what they eat, like, like over 1 kilo of barley for a dinner, and then the rest. But it's ton of calories. But they seem to have burned it. I actually calculated that would be like most conservative estimate that only for dinner they ate like 5,000 to 6,000 calories, unless part of the food was like discarded and thrown away or given to the helots to eat or whatever. Like, but that amount of food is like almost 6,000 calories eaten only at dinner. But probably, like the Spartans would probably eat a small breakfast and then like not eat during the day and that eat a lot for dinner. I assume that it's then it's like in that context it would kind of be logical. It's still like gigantic amount of food, but it's this cheap barley food that's produced by the numerous helots. Each Spartan has a kleros and some have even more this private land in the family. So this Syssitia contribution, it's this is not the thing, It's always mentioned, and like, no, the Sparta didn't fucking, lost their citizen manpower, and then their power diminished, after this Corinthian war, and then as it goes, the diminishment of the number of Spartans, and then the Battle of Leuctra, and so on, so on. Many factors are there, like internal politics, and this earthquake that destroyed Sparta in 464 BC, and all the wars that were there, but also like the assumption that there were like 8 or 9,000 Spartans, based on some number of kleros or whatever, like some estimations. It's kind of dubious. I believe that the number of Spartan warriors at any time were not that was not that great, like to begin with. So, and then it diminished. But one of the major factors to attribute it that they got impoverished, and that they could not attend this city, and they could not brought the food that they would eat at that dinner themselves. Then they're practically starving, sure, they would be impoverished, but then like this Syssitia, they would probably then lower the contribution to that, like these people were not fucking stupid, being surrounded by all these elots, all these helots who were just waiting, to rebel, and Periokoi and many enemies around, Sparta, like that would like Sparta to fall, to just this military power to diminish, because like this guy couldn't bring 2 kilos of cheese, a month. That's ridiculous. It's fucking stupid. Like these professors and these historians, these experts, man, like they really give me headache with such stupid concepts sometimes.